Bob Smeaton is the director of Jimi Hendrix, Hear My Train A Comin. Bob, good morning.
Good morning.
This is your third Hendrix documentary, in fact.
Yeah, I've done a lot of Hendrix stuff. He's great, you know, he's the guy.
So how is this one different?
I think this one, the ones that we've done in the past, we did a documentary about when Jimmy played Monterey in '67, and we did one about when he played Woodstock, and they were more about the event. Whereas this documentary is about the man, Jimi Hendrix.
Well, on that same note, I mean, you're no stranger to classic rock documentaries. You've done the Beatles anthology, you did Festival Express, but I get the sense talking to you that you feel like Hendrix is perhaps the most compelling character you followed.
I think the thing about Jimmy is, you know, when I was a kid, you know, growing up, I loved Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and all those bands, and the Beatles, and you tend to know a lot about them. But I think with Jimmy, there was always an air of mystery, like who was this guy with the wild hair and the wild guitar? And I think, you know, even now, you know, having made this film, you still feel there's a great mystery about Jimmy, and I think that's why kids are still attracted to him, because he has got this mysterious persona. In, you know, as he says in the film, it's all about the music.
After doing this documentary, is he any clearer to you?
I think, you know, the thing I found surprising about, you know, this documentary is that we interviewed a lot of his ex-girlfriends, right? And, you know, we know him as this confident, super confident guy on stage, but they all said he was shy. You know, hang on, Jimi Hendrix was shy, and I think that was, you know, the insight, because everyone that we've interviewed in the past has always said he's a great guitar player. Well, we know he's a great guitar player, you can see it in the footage, but to find out that this guy was shy and he was insecure, it was like, you got to be joking, but you know, it was true, you know, that was the guy.
In the documentary, you go from birth to death.
Yeah.
So how did he even get discovered? How did he hit it big in London?
Well, I think, you know, Jimmy had been playing, he'd been touring in the States as a sideman for people like Little Richard and the Isley Brothers, and not really getting anywhere. You know, he had a reputation as a great guitar player, but things weren't really happening for him, and he was playing in Greenwich Village, and Linda Keith, who was Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones' ex-girlfriend, had seen him playing and thought, this guy should be a star, right? So she met Chas Chandler, who was the bass player in The Animals, who had a big hit with House of the Rising Sun, and he had just left the band, and he wanted to get involved in management, and she said to Chas, you've got to come and see this guy, Jimi Hendrix. Chas saw Hendrix and said, hey, come to London, I'll make you a star. Jimmy gets on a flight, guitar, no band, just on his own, you know, gets to London, and within the space of 2 or 3 weeks, McCartney, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, all these great guitar players are coming to see Jimi Hendrix. He gets a record deal, and then, you know, the rest history. It was just for 4 years, from '66 to 1970 to when he died, it was like a rocket. You know, the guy just went up, 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 and up.
It's amazing how huge an impact you can make in just 4 years, but he did. The other thing that amazes me in this documentary is how much great footage there is of him. It is so, you don't just have to hear somebody say he's great, you see it there.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about Jimmy, you know, he was filmed a lot in concert, but he never did chat shows like this. The first time he actually did a chat show in America was in 1969. He did the Dick Cavett show. Right. And by then, Jimmy was already a big star. But there was, you know, at the time, like Monterey, he played at Monterey, that was filmed, became a film. Woodstock, as we know, was filmed, became a big movie. And I think Jimmy's management were fairly clever. They filmed a lot of his performances, like when he played at Miami in 1968. You know, they had cameras there, and they actually recorded the concert.
And this is the first time we're actually seeing that footage in this documentary.
This footage from Hendrix from Miami in 1968, I'd never seen it before, and I thought I'd seen everything on Jimmy. But it's great. It's in the daylight, and it's fantastic. So even if you think you've seen everything that you've seen, and that's to be seen, this is mind-blowingly great.
Yeah, it is a really great film. Bob Smeaton, thanks so much. Jimi Hendrix, Hear My Train A Comin premieres on American Masters Tuesday on PBS.